All right. So thank you for coming to the Capital Good Fund for our very first financial coaching webinar, Stress-Free Holiday. My name is Isabel Rodriguez. I am the Director of Financial Coaching here at the Capital Good Fund. And I'm super excited to be able to share this tool and these tips with you guys. With me, I have our Senior Financial Coach, Janet Benitez. She will be presenting and she will also be answering questions live sometimes. Maybe I will, and she'll talk about the process in here in just a few minutes. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Janet.
Hello, everybody who has joined, even though I can't physically see your faces, but I know that you are there. Thank you so much for joining us on our first webinar. Like Isabel said, we're very excited. We are also going to continue doing webinars throughout next year, so definitely stay tuned for those webinars as well. I'm very excited to share with you some tips about how to spend this holiday season stress-free. Also, like Isabel said, we will be answering questions. We will be doing some polls later on, so you'll definitely have some time to participate. Also, we'll have some time at the end to answer any questions. Like she said, I am the Senior Financial Coach here at Capital Good Fund. At the end of our presentation, I will be talking a little bit more about our services, as in terms of what we offer with financial coaching, how to build your credit. So if that's something that definitely interests you, stick around to the end of the presentation. I will be sharing a couple of slides and talking about that and how you can definitely get started. So further ado, let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen so that we can start the presentation. So stress-free holiday. So buckle your seatbelts and let's get started for this journey. All right. So we know that because of COVID, consumer spending has changed as previous years. As all of you are aware, many Americans this year lost their jobs, worked less hours, or some are still jobless because of COVID. And it's something that we're probably going to continue to experience until we can finally go back to somewhat of a normal. But not only did, average day-to-day American suffer through this COVID, but also retail stores. As you know, or may have heard, a lot of retails closed around the country. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with COVID. When we first started, remember, we were kind of like in lockdown and everybody, like all the stores shut down, all the restaurants. So obviously, many stores lost profit there. And because of COVID, the online thing became even more popular. So many reasons behind all of that as well. But we know that COVID was definitely an impact to not only day-to-day Americans, but businesses. Now, people who kept working through the shutdown will have a good holiday season. That doesn't mean like, hey, don't watch out your budget and go crazy spending because you didn't have to worry about losing your job or not having enough money. That just means you'll be better prepared to spend this holiday season with less stress, more financially prepared. Now, workers who did get their hours reduced or who lost their jobs are expected to hold back on gift giving. And if this is your situation, don't feel embarrassed, don't feel ashamed or anything. We will definitely talk about some tips on how you can stretch the budget, or how can you still possibly gift. And even if you can't gift, but maybe next year you can work towards the budget and still be able to find a way to make it work, be financially stable, and still be with your loved ones. Now, with the pandemic, we know that more people will do online shopping versus in stores. And as you know, many online retail stores have gotten their game up because of that. All right, so how is shopping going to be different this holiday season? According to CBS News, online sales are expected to grow between 25 and 30% and account for nearly 17% of total retail sales this year. So, as you know, shopping started earlier. A lot of retail stores had online deals since October. They made curbside pickup more accessible, free. You don't have to worry about like going to the store, bumping into people. You don't have to worry about anything like that. You just go, you park, you call the number, or you say, I'm here, and they put it right in your trunk and you don't have to worry about it. So they make it very accessible through this whole COVID season. Now, keep in mind that the inventory online will probably be more limited because more people, like I said, are shopping online as opposed to in store. All right, so with that note, loading up the online carts might be a little bit easier and at the same time, a little bit scarier this year. Why? Because it's just a click away. It's easier to just be like, oh, I like this, let's add it, click, 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 and you fill up your cart and you're like, yeah, I got my shopping done. And you're not really paying attention to the total, or you're just looking at the great discounts and you're not really looking at the budget or thinking about the budget. So it might be easier to just rack up the online carts because of that reason. Now, like I mentioned, they do make free shipping more convenient because of that reason. However, it might be easier to overspend because of the fact that it's so convenient. As an American, we had to adapt to this whole COVID situation. So, hey, everybody's adapting. Why not? This makes it easier. I don't have to go to the store. So definitely keeping an eye on that. Now, warning, shipping could be a nightmare this year. I know that a lot of people already do online shopping and they've done it previous years. But remember, we're in COVID. So because the stores have increased their online sales, to be honest with you, sometimes the online sales this year, from what I've seen, are better than the in-store. So people are taking advantage of that. So shipping cutoff times might come earlier than December 15 this year. So definitely, if you haven't started your shopping and you plan to do online shopping, definitely do that as soon as possible, because you don't want to run into delays with your package, because that might be something that we might experience this year. All right, so without further ado, let's do our first poll. So I'm curious to see how many will do online shopping instead of in-store shopping. So you have like 30 seconds or so to vote, and then we'll share the results on the screen. I really don't have a timer, so I'm gonna just guess the 30 seconds.
I got it. I'll let you guys know when it's up.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
It looks like we're waiting on a few more people. About 5 more seconds. All right, and the poll has been closed, and I'll share the results now.
All right, very interesting. So there's a mixture of both. Seems like it's winning. And like I said, maybe people are gonna, like I said, do one versus the other or mix it up. So it's interesting to see that this group of participants here are doing a mix of both. Awesome. Thank you for participating in the poll. We'll have more polls later on. So let's keep going with the presentation. All right. Okay, so we talked about, all right, COVID, how has spending changed? What's out there? What do we have to expect? But now let's take a look at what we can actually do to remain stress-free during this holiday spending. All right, so I like this quote from Rita Wolfson. She is the Financial Social Work founder. And I'm going to read to you this quote. It's very powerful. It says, change is a choice. Commitment is the method by which you fulfill this choice. Without commitment, there could be no change because change takes dedication and effort. Commitment is the foundation upon which change is built. Now, it's a beautiful quote, like I mentioned, but also it really applies a lot to this holiday season. If we really want to be stress-free and like be financially stable, and not just for the holiday season, but through the rest of the year, it's important for us to make choices and to make commitments to stick to a budget or to keep an eye on our finances, to spend an hour. They usually say that spending an hour a week with your money is very helpful. And that doesn't mean you're going to sit around an hour and be like, oh, I don't have any money, I'm broke. It just means that you're going to look at your finances, you're going to take better choices or better approaches to them. You're going to feel more confident as you approach the finance perspective. Maybe it's not going to be so overwhelming as you spend each week looking at your money, looking at strategies, looking at expenses. How can we reduce expenses? So those kind of things, choices and commitment is very important, not just for this holiday season, but for our everyday life. All right, so let's do another poll. How many of you started earlier to shop for the holidays? Now, I know that I've heard people that start as early as the summertime. Some people start October. So I'm just curious to see how many of you started earlier.
We have about 20 seconds.
Sounds good, thank you.
Three, two, one. Poll is ending.
Awesome. All right. So it looks like we're in a tie. Some of us have started and some of us plan to start shopping this month. So if you haven't started shopping, this is great because with the tips that you're going to get here, you're definitely going to be able to start implementing these things and be able to help you better prepare to be stress-free for this holiday season. And even if you already started and probably are still finishing, or if you already finished, this will be some great tips for you to keep in mind and prepare for next year. And in general, you can prepare for any shopping, whether it's like gifts, Easter, all these holidays that come up. These tips will still help you to be able to prepare for any major expenses. All right, so without further ado, let's continue with the presentation. All right, so it's possible that your holiday expenses, other than the gifts that you buy, could actually exceed your gift budget or, come close to it. For example, entertaining, decorations, gift wrap, seasonal cards, travel postage, etc. All those items can add up quickly. And if you're not really paying attention to it, they might become a little bit more expensive than your gifting. And a lot of the times we think about like the big picture. We're like, all right, the gifts, like that's the first thing you think about. And you account for the gifts. A lot of times we don't think about the back end of like, okay, I need to buy like gift wrap, I need to buy decorations, etc. So we don't really throw that into our budget because all we think about it's like gifts. That's the main priority. But it's important for us to budget even those small little things because, like I said, depending on what you're gift wrapping or whatnot, you might be like, hey, Dollar Tree has $1 bags. Great, I'm done. I don't have to worry about it. Or you might be like, hey, I like the ones with the lights and the sparkly things, and those will cost you a little bit more, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But those things can add up quickly. And if you don't really budget for them, then you really don't know what you're spending in that sense. You might budget for your gifts, but then that's floating out there somewhere. And it's technically money that you spent. And if you ever go back to your budget, you might wonder like, well, what is that $30 charge there? Like, and if you don't like I said, you don't spread it out, then you might not know that that was decorations, wraps, etc. All right, so creating a list is very important, especially to keep track of what you're spending. And obviously right now we're focusing on holiday spending, but this could help you with any type of spending that you plan to do, even if it's a car, a house, anything. When you write it down, when you have it accessible, when you know what you want to spend, it just makes it so much easier to keep track of. It doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like this format. You can create your own thing, be creative. If you want to do, old-fashioned paper and pen, by all means. If you want to do Excel, if you want to use certain apps, whatever works for each individual. You want to start thinking about those items and start thinking about your gifts. The more detail your list, the more stress-free you're going to be. And pretty much they separate the list, right? You have your actual gifts, like this is what I want, this is who it's going for. And then this is decorations, this is what I've spent so far. So it's really good to have like both of those accessible. That way you can know for sure what you're spending. Now, I wanted to share with you one that I have created. Let me know if you could see my screen. I have two Excel spreadsheets. For me, I'd rather have it somewhere like this. I'm really not a paper pen person because I feel like I will lose it.
I am.
So
I love paper and pen.
yeah, whatever works for you. Like there are people that's what works for them, and that's great. I admire you. Like I just can't have it in a paper and a pen, and I feel like I will lose it. So I created this Christmas expense sheet. So this is 2018. I just wanted to show you really quickly. So this year, for some reason, I decided to break it down into credit cards. I don't know why. I just did. I broke it down into credit cards, what I bought. I added my totals. I remember that year I got a bonus. So I was like, all right, let me deduct my bonus from my actual expense. So then I technically ended up spending only $166.25 of my own money. As you can see, my husband's list and budget was a little bit or a lot less than mine that year. But I decided to break it up into that format. Don't know why, I just did. 2019, I said a little bit more bland because I didn't put too much touch into this one. But this year I decided to do it by person. So I was like, okay, I'm going to separate my expenses per person. This is what I spent for each single person. As you can see, I didn't finish my husband's list that year, but I did mine. So then I was like, I was able to go back and compare. Okay, 2018, I spent $900 something. 2019, I spent $560. So I'm like, great, I went down. So that means I spent less. So it's really good to have some type of expense sheet, whether it's paper, an app, Excel, Word, document, anything, because you can go back, compare, and see what you have spent. If you saved this year, like for me, I happened to save from one year to the other, so that was great. I have not started my 2020 list. I usually, what I do or what I've tried to do each year is stick to an amount per person. So like, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna spend more than $25 per person, etc. For you, it might be different. You might say, I'm just gonna overall spend X amount of number per 10 people in my family, or so on and so forth. So it really depends on what you would like to do individually. So once this year is over, because I already know that I plan to spend only 25 per person, I plan to go back, create my little Excel sheet, plug in the numbers per person. Hopefully this year I'll make it a little more detailed and prettier than last year. And then just compare it with the past 3 years and see how that has been going. And like I said, this can work for any type of expense. Like I know that I did the same thing with my car. When I finished paying my car, I went back and I'm like, let's see how much interest I really paid through all these years. And I went back, added the payments and the interest, and then I was like, okay, neat. This is what it cost me. This is what I paid in interest. So you can do it with anything, not just for the holiday, but definitely anything that works for you would be more exciting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how do these lists or this tool relieve that stress from the holidays?
Yes. So when you're creating a list, right, and you're setting a budget for yourself, let's say you, because that's the first thing you want to think about. You want to see what you are willing to spend or what you want to spend. With that number in mind, or whether it's individually or in amount, once you start jotting everything down, right, you're like, all right, well, I already spent this for this person. Then it makes you a little bit more aware of the fact that, okay, if I already reached my limit with a specific person, then the right thing to do would not be exceed the limit and buy something else. And then like now I'm throwing my budget off and now I'm stressing that I'm like, I spend 40 with this person and now I can't spend like, the 40 with this one because now I have to cut this budget short. So it's going to help watch the overspending, but also keeping in mind, like, all right, if I made a commitment, I need to stick to my commitment, not because I'm being told to, but because at the end of this, I want to be able to leave the holiday season and be like, okay, great. This is what I budgeted for. This is what I spent. And here's the money, whether you paid it with a credit card. You'd be like, hey, here's the money to pay to my credit card. And then you don't have to worry about like, oh, I keep carrying this balance over and over on my credit card because I overspend, $100 when I should have only like spent 300 overall. So it helps avoid like the overrun, the problem in the long run of like, I keep carrying the balance. I can't pay my bill now because I spent too much on the holidays. I don't know if that answers the question a little bit.
It does.
All right. Was that the question on the chat? Because I think there was a chat question or there was a chat I didn't see. Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
that was it.
All right. Beautiful. All right. So creating this holiday spending log helps you create a holiday filled with less stress and less spending. So similar to the one that I showed you earlier, this is pretty much the same thing. It's just kind of like wrapping it up together. What I like about this one is it says amount planned, amount actually spent, and then the amount remaining. So it's like what I talked about earlier. Like you plan to spend, let's say $50 per person. You actually spend 55. So now you are $5 short or less on the total budget that you had planned for yourself. So it's whether you put it in writing, whether you put it in an Excel sheet, whether you keep an app, or even if there's people that just keep track of like the amounts that they spend on the credit cards. I don't know what works best for you, but it's always good to have it a little bit detailed. That way you actually know what you spend and what your goal. So what your goal is, and if you achieve your goal or you went over your goal or if you didn't meet your goal type of thing. All right. Developing some holiday spending guidelines will definitely help you make the best financial spending decisions by setting up spending rules in advance of the holiday season to help you remain stress-free. Roughly 2 to 5 holiday spending guidelines is a good start. And I'll show you in the next slide what that looks like. But first, let's do our last poll. How much will you spend this year holiday shopping? If you have an amount already that you thought about, whether you think you're going to spend less or more, this would be a nice way to like kind of like get your mind working on your goal. Once again, you'll have the 30 seconds to complete the poll.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. Interesting. So there's not a tie, but it's like close. Spending less than last year, not sure. For those of you that chose spending less than last year, once again, COVID obviously made a big impact on our spending and everything that has been going on. So I really hope that these tips will help you be able to stretch your budget, make your budget, and even if like you buy a small gift and you think like, wow, like I really didn't want to do this. It seems very, very small, but anything out of the heart, even if it's just a Christmas card, it is well appreciated. And because of the situation, people are more understandable. And you should definitely be more understandable with yourself. A lot of people struggle with having those thoughts of like, oh, well, I should have done better. I should have budgeted or I should have saved. We can no longer change the past, but we can definitely work towards the present of where we are. Future is not guaranteed either, but definitely something that will get you going and get you prepared for the next holiday season. For those of you who are not sure, um, definitely this is a perfect time to start thinking about it since we're getting close to the holiday season. Now that you have an idea of like, well, you know, I should probably break it down like this, whether it's per person that you want to spend or overall amount, you have options to play with. So definitely, it will definitely be helpful for you who are not sure yet.
Shannon, I'd love to hear from some people that are saying that they're going to spend less than last year. I'd love to hear how they're doing that. If you do want to share, let me know. You just have to go to the participant chat box and ask me to unmute. And you can feel free to interrupt throughout the presentation to share those tips.
Definitely. That is a great idea. Isabel, you're on mute. I don't know. You mentioned something.
Lenore has asked to share, so I will unmute you right now.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi. Yeah, so my goal, well, I did most of my shopping already, and it's a lot less than what I spent last year. And it was kind of unintentional. Last year I didn't have a plan. I wasn't really thinking. I had people in mind, obviously my immediate family and friends. I would go out to the store and just like pick up stuff. And if I saw something was cute, I'd add things to my list that I didn't plan to. But now because I'm leaning towards online shopping, I have a more of a clear list of everybody that I'm going to shop for and exactly what I'm getting. Last year, I had no list. I just had my thoughts in my mind. I had kind of an idea. I would go out, pick up stuff, and that was it. And I overspent. This year, I've created a few lists of exactly who I was getting gifts for, what stores I was going to if I did go out to like the mall or something. And then I had all my online stores and like, you know, bookmarked in different tabs, and I would see all, you know, my totals, and I was able to see it that way. So this year I'm a lot more a lot more organized, and it's helped me in the long run as far as saving. And I've actually gotten more people gifts than I did last year, and I'm saving. So I think being intentional when you do go out shopping, knowing what you're getting and who you're getting it for, and then not going outside of that list, I think helps.
Thanks for sharing, Lenore. I think Leticia wants to share as well, so I'm going to allow you to talk in just a sec.
Hi. The way we did it this year in our family was that we asked our immediate family. So it was just the niece and my daughters and husband, three gifts that they would like to receive for Christmas. And we would just choose from those three gifts, and we actually put an amount that we couldn't go past. So our amount for this year was $50. So that's how we're I'm keeping it kind of low this year. I'm saving my money.
That's a really good tip. I'd never thought about asking somebody else what three things they want to get. It's always, oh my God, I should get them everything. But thank you for the tip, Leticia.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I personally do that with like the younger children. I ask them, give me a list of three things. And this year I thought, I'm like, wait, I should have just asked like my mom, my dad, like, the same list. That way I don't have to like figure out like, what should I get them, especially with a budget that I have set for each person. So I actually like that of implementing that with like everybody instead of just the kids. So definitely thanks for that.
That's all we have. So
Okay. Perfect. All right. So if any more questions pop up later on, feel free to throw it in the Q&A or the chat, and definitely we'll have more time towards the end of the presentation to answer more questions. All right. So I was talking earlier about the spending guidelines. And a couple of you share some of the things that you do. So that's great. That gives a little bit more of a picture of what spending guidelines are. A good rough draft to start is like identify 2-3 major holiday spending problems you had over the past 3 years. I know a couple of you share and mention like what you did last year versus what you did this year. So identifying those things, it's very important because it could help you with the next year. Also identifying 2 to 5 basic behavioral changes which you can make to avoid these problems in the future year or in the years to come. So what exactly does that mean, right? So I'm gonna go to the next slide, and it gives some tips of some holiday guidelines. Example, I will not shop when I'm tired. A lot of times when you're tired, you're like, oh, I'll just get this. And like, you're not even looking at the price tag. You're like, I'll just get it because I'm tired and I don't have time to like go around. Or a lot of the times you're like, you take your children with you shopping and now they're like, I want this, 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 and that. And you're like, great. Now, how do I get them all of these gifts? Or how do I tell them no, like you could only get one? And there's many, many, many different guidelines that you can create on your own. Another one here says, I will not exceed the budget I set for my holiday spending. I will avoid the pressures of limited time specials. That is another good one. A lot of times you're like, ooh, should I get it now? Because it says that the sale will end tomorrow. And then like next week, hey, you realize that what you paid for that item now is cheaper. So a lot of times there's that pressure from the stores, like, limited time special, get it now. And a lot of times, yes, the items go back to its regular price. Other times they wait like a week or so and then they drop it even more. Like I noticed that personally, I bought the shampoo and like I spent like $20. And then this past week I went back and I was like, what? It's $16 now? No way. So like a lot of times you're pressured into like those like limited time specials. So definitely feel free to create your own holiday guideline, something that will be realistic for you. It's good to identify what you did last year to kind of help you guide yourself towards this year. Couple of you, like I said, share some of your tips, which I love that it's been helping you. And I really hope that the tips here will also continue to help other people with their holiday guidelines. All right. So there are also useful apps, whether you are a person that, is all about technology. There are apps that can help you budget or administrate like that spending. There's Awesome Note, there's Mint, there's Neat Cloud or Neat Mobile. So there's a lot of more apps that you can probably use to have some kind of a budget. some kind of a calendar, even if it's like a sticky note, X, Y, and Z. Like there's so many apps out there that you can look for to help you if that is how it works for you. Like I said, everybody is different, but there are items out there that could definitely help, tools to help with the spending. All right. And then embrace motivation, support, and self-care. It's very important that, yes, while you're getting gifts for everybody else, that you think about yourself. And I don't mean like go get yourself something expensive, but think about your overall mental health, financial, like all of the aspects of yourself. In this holiday shopping, remember the key is to be stress-free, to not be a stress, to not be burdened by the fact that after your shopping is done, now you're in debt, now you're carrying balances, now you owe so much money. So it's important to self-care. Like I said, embrace that support, whether it's from a partner, a friend, X, Y, and Z. Just embrace that, have that self-care. How can we do that throughout this holiday season and overall self-care? Identify some of your spending triggers. So like if you know that when you are like, a little sad because, it's winter and you just want to stay inside and you really don't want to go outside. And this is a time where it's easier for you to just go online and like shop, or go to the store and be like, I'm picking this, this, and this, and this, and I really don't need it. So this helps ensure and that you're not falling into the trap. So identifying those spending triggers. And a lot of times it's not just financially, a lot of times you have to look within yourself, whether it's emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, to identify those triggers and to help you get to the core. In the world of finances, it's not enough to tell somebody you need to budget. This is how you do it. If you can't tackle the root of where you started the budgeting problem from, maybe it's because in your family, nobody talked about budget, or nobody talked about how they felt in regards to certain situations or X, Y, and Z. So it's very important to identify those spending triggers to avoid falling into that same trap. Now, understanding, very important, between wants and needs. When you go to the store, you're like, yes, I need these pair of sneakers. But a lot of times it's just more like, I want these pair of sneakers, I really don't need them. So just putting your priorities on the table. I always mention to my clients, it's like, all right, if you go to the store and you see this sweater, right? You say, I need this sweater, right? And at that moment, you're like, if I buy this sweater, will I have money for the rest of the month to pay for my bills or to, to buy groceries or to do this? If the answer is like, no, I will not have money, then this is more of like a want and I could possibly get this some other time. My priority is to pay my bill or meet my primary expenses. Simplify your life. Less is more. A lot of times if you're a multitasker, you want to get a lot of things done and you're like, oh, great. A lot of times that could be a little bit overwhelming. So maybe just taking a step back, maybe because of this COVID season, splitting it up. Instead of you saying like, I'm gonna like sit down for 4 hours and just get all my shopping done. You might want to split it up and be like, today I'm only gonna spend 1 hour, tomorrow I'm gonna do this. Or even if you actually go to the store, you might want to do the same thing. So less is more. A lot of the times we want to do more because we feel like we can accomplish more by doing more. But a lot of the times, if we could split it up, we might be more efficient by doing less. And then just learning to breathe. Like a lot of the times we're so caught up with our everyday life that we're just like up to here and we're like ready to explode. A lot of times we just need to kind of sit down, breathe in, breathe out, and just, sit there, meditate, take, a minute or so for yourself, embrace yourself, embrace your effort, embrace what you're doing, and just take it one day at a time or one step at a time. This can definitely lessen the stress of the holiday spending, of not meeting the budget or not having enough. Even if this year you decided to not gift because of your financial situation, it's very important to take that breath, that meditation, and tell yourself that it is okay, that while it's nice to gift and everybody thinks that Christmas is just about giving gifts, physical gifts, but you can also gift by giving a smile, by being there, by listening to someone, by caring for someone. So there's much more than an actual money cost behind a gift. So if maybe you're struggling with that this year, just like I said, it's very important to have that self-care, that motivation, that there's always room for improvement in the future, and that we don't need to beat ourselves up for it this year. And last but not least, recognizing the stress triggers. Understanding what triggers stress for you mentally and physically will help you reduce the opportunity for these triggers. Like I mentioned, if it stresses you out to get your shopping done in one day, break it down. If it stresses you out to think about money and what you want to budget for, something that I do with my clients, I walk them through little by little. I'm like, all right, so we're going to create a budget. We're not going to stress about it. We're going to start a piece at a time. Like example, I helped a client last week create a business budget. And they were already stressed enough about a regular budget. Now business, now you have to think of numbers and really get precise with them. But something that helped, at least, and maybe you can get this from a support person, is when creating a budget, have somebody there with you and be like, all right, give you some ideas. So what do we need to budget for? Okay, we need, example, gift wraps. We need gift bags, or little things like that. If somebody gives you let's say the topics or the titles, then you just need to put numbers in front of it. So if you have that support system, that might be a little bit less stressful. Then you try and how do I start this budget? How do I do this? How do I decide what number I want to limit myself? Like I said, if you have a partner, talk to your partner, agree on an amount. If everything's coming out of your budget, then just have me time where you're all right, where do I start? So, okay, I want to set a budget, but first of all, I don't know how much I have in my wallet or how much I will have towards the end of this pay period. So maybe starting there. So just trying to lessen the stress, whether it's mentally, physically, and every situation will be different with each person. So definitely whatever it is that helps you reduce the stress, whether it's meditation, whether it's taking a deep breath, walking away from it for a little bit, coming back, whether it's listening to some nice background music that will help you lessen the stress. It's important to find what helps you with the self-care and the embracing of the motivation. All right, perfect. So I just have a list of resources where I got a lot of the nice information that I was able to share with you. Now we're going to take some time to answer any questions before I actually get into the whole services that we offer here at Capital Good Fund and how people can improve their credit scores, how can you receive some financial coaching, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But does anybody have any questions?
Sorry, guys. I it froze there for a little bit, so it kicked me out. So I do have a question for the participants that are on. I really want to know, what are some of your mental or physical triggers that make you want to spend, and how do you handle those?
Just really quickly, you can share those answers in the Q&A and do it anonymously if you don't want to, like, come out and say like, hey, that's me. So you can definitely share anonymously through the Q&A if that feels more comfortable for you.
And beside that, I see here that you raised your hand, so I'm just going to click a button to let you speak. You should be good to go. We can't hear you. You might want to speak into the phone. Looks like you're still muted. Technical difficulties, guys. It looks like we can't hear Bitsida, so if you could please just throw it into the chat or the Q&A, I will share that with everyone and continue. Does anybody else want to share? All right. I don't see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat, Janet, so you can take it from here.
Perfect. All right, beautiful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our financial coaching program. So we have 3 different types of programs here at Capital Good Fund. We do have 2 separate departments as well. We obviously work in the financial coaching department. We also have a loan department, but I'll focus on the financial coaching since this is what we do. We have 3 different programs. All 3 of them help you build your credit score. They're all geared towards different financial perspectives. So I'll start with the Financial Coaching Plus. The Financial Coaching Plus consists of 4 sessions. So we meet once each week. Right now, because of COVID, we are offering remote sessions only because obviously we can't meet in person. And we do it through Zoom. So we use the same platform. We do the video conference. We share the content with our coach. The coach shares the content with the participant. And to the right here, well, my right, these are the topics that we cover through our financial coaching program. And like I said, we divide it through those 4 sessions. We create goals with you, both short-term and long-term. We create a budget with you. We give you a copy of your credit report. We review that with you, what steps you can take if there's anything that you need to dispute. We also talk a little bit about banking, the banking system. We talk about debts. We create what we call a debt management plan. Pretty much just talks about how long it would take you to pay the debts and how much interest you would pay. We also talk about savings, what are some strategies to save, and about your health. You may think like, why health? What does that have to do with finances? But your health and finance do integrate with each other. If you are not healthy, you're going to notice you're going to be spending more money. You're going to have more of a financial burden. So we talk a little bit more about this topic, and we do a small reflection at the end. After you start the program, so after you go through the 4 sessions, we do what we call a 6-month check-in. So we meet again, we give you another copy of your credit report, we review the progress, and then 12 months down the line, we do the same thing. We give you another copy, we review it, we look at the progress, we look at your goals. Have you been like working towards those goals, achieving them? And this program has a cost of $15 a month for 12 months. How you build credit, you might ask. Well, the payments to the program get generated as a credit builder loan, and that's how it appears on your credit report. So each on-time $15 payment that you make each month gets reported to the 3 credit bureaus, and that's helping you build positive credit. And we look at that progress, like I said, during the 6-month and the 12-month check-in. So that is one of the programs that we offer.
So we have a question in regards to our program, and then I'm going to allow Bitsaida to talk in the system so that we can try again and hear her triggers. So this question asks, are the 2 check-ins separate from the 4 one-on-one sessions?
Yes, they are. So the 4 one-on-one sessions, we get through those, we cover those topics. The 6-month check-in and the 12-month check-in are separate. So we will usually, like, let's say you started tomorrow. So 6 months from tomorrow, we'll get in contact with you and we'll be like, hey, it's time for a check-in. Let's meet, whether it's a phone call or a video conference. We'll give you the copy of your credit report. We'll review it. Like I said, we'll talk about your goals and we'll complete a little survey that we do.
All right. So Bitsaida, I'm just going to allow you to talk. And you should be good to go.
Hi.
We can hear you.
So,
hey.
You can hear me? Okay, good. I'm sorry. I'm actually driving home from work listening to the webinar, so I was having a bit of difficulty trying to unmute it. I had to stop and pull over. So for me, as a mother of more than one child, the triggers are, wanting to be able to meet those needs, being a low income family, and not disappointing them. So you sometimes put yourself in more of a debt because you're trying to also fulfill your obligations as a parent and not have the kids feel empty or that they can't have stuff for the holidays. So that to me is one of my biggest issues. I'm pretty sure that other parents probably share the same view and feel hurt by it as much as I do. But one of the ideas that the other, someone else there mentioned about, setting a money limit and also requesting to have like 3 different options, I think is a phenomenal idea. I think it's something that I should possibly bring up to kind of relieve the stress a little bit of trying to, provide for the holidays, even during these stressful times, especially during COVID. It has really affected my family immensely. So I think that to me is one of the major stressors.
Thank you for sharing. And if anybody has any more tips for Bitsaida, please feel free to reach out.
Yes, I actually do. Something that they recommend, and this is part of, I'm certified in the financial social work aspect. Something that they say to do with your children is to start talking to your children about money. What does that look like? It doesn't mean overwhelm them with the financial hardships that you have, but it's sitting down with them and explaining to them that pretty much teaching them like, what is money? What do you use it for? And how do you spend it? And I think once you sit down with your children and you start explaining to them like, okay, yes, money is money and we'll get you things, but there's a thing as a budget, there's a thing as like keeping a financial stability and like using terms obviously that children can understand. I'm just using overall words here, but using terms that the children can understand. And once you begin talking with your children about money, like, all right, it's not that I don't love you, that I don't want to get you something. It's just that as a parent, we work, we make X amount of money. And you don't necessarily have to give them an amount, but helping them understand that there's a time when, yes, they're going to probably get a toy here and there that they really want. And there's times that they're not, and it's not because you don't love them, it's because there is that budget again. There's those things that we have to pay throughout the year. And it's not to overwhelm them, it's just to start teaching them, like I said, what is money, how to use it, and how do you spend it type of thing. So maybe that's something that parents can like possibly think to do with their children. And like, obviously I love the list of the 3 items where you can just ask them and like get one of those items there. But definitely having that money talk with children is definitely going to help them not only through their childhood, but once they get older, they'll remember like, hey, my mommy and daddy talked to me, or mommy or dad talked to me about money. They show me that, you know, this is how you use it, this is how you spend it type of thing. So just some couple of tips for any parents out there.
Thanks, Janet. And Betsaida said that is a conversation that they have at home, so that's great. We have about a minute, so.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions?
I don't see any as of right now.
Okay, perfect. So I'll quickly cover the last 2 programs. We have a credit builder program, or since we recently switched it, it's just a credit builder loan. This one, it's $5 a month for 12 months. So this one's a little different. This is geared towards someone that like, I know how to budget, I know how to save. I don't have any debts. I'm just kind of looking to improve that credit score because I'm trying to like buy a car soon or a house, and like I really need to boost my credit. It's $5 a month. You don't meet with a coach. Initially, what will happen is you will sign all of the documentation at the beginning through your email. You'll get your copy of your credit report. You'll get a little credit video plus cheat sheet of like credit tips. You'll still have that 6-month and 12-month check-in with the credit report, and you're still reporting to the 3 credit bureaus. So you're still building credit. It's just, like I said, geared more towards like people who have a little more on their finances. It's just that boost in their credit score. And then the last one is the financial coaching crash course. So this program was designed for those who have been really impacted through COVID, and it's more of an accelerated financial coaching service. So what we'll do is we'll meet about 2 times. So like within that week, we will cover your budget. We will give you a copy of your credit report. We will review the credit report with you, and we'll create a debt management plan with you. Remember, that's the one where we talk about how much debts you have, how long it will take you to pay it off, and the interest rate. We'll have monthly check-ins for the first 3 months, just to see how things are going, how you're catching up. And then after our 6-month and 12-month check-in as well, we will still have those. We will still give you your credit report. Like I said, the sessions are remotely because of COVID, and it's $5 a month for 12 months. So you're still building positive credit. You're not getting like the full financial crash, the full financial coaching curriculum, because this is more of a crash course, but you're getting the most essential parts to get you through this COVID situation. So these are the 3 programs that we offer here at Capital Good Fund. If anybody is interested in signing up, you can definitely call our department, 866-584-3651. Our extension is 301. If you know of any Spanish-speaking clients, it's still the same number, but the extension is 402. I forgot to throw that on there. Or you could email us at financialcoaching@capitalgoodfund.org. Or you can go to our website, and you'll be, if you go to the coaching tab, you will be able to sign up for a program. Like you'll be able to enter your information, and then we'll get a notification and we can contact you. And our website is www.capitalgoodfund.org. And like I said, if you go to the coaching tab, you will definitely see that in the programs and a little bit more about it. We are available in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts, Florida, Texas, and Illinois. So if you know of anybody in these states, we do service these states, not just Rhode Island. I'm so happy that you were able to be here with me through this first webinar. I'm so excited, especially for those who participated and shared what they are doing, what they will continue to do. That's, for me, that's a great motivation that we are getting to people and we are helping people out there one way or another. And I am so thankful that these webinars will continue to go on with different topics so that you can stay informed, you can definitely help other people, and just be financially, well and emotionally stable as well, like all the areas in your life. So I'm very excited. Thank you for being here with us. And we look forward to definitely seeing you on our next webinars.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Are there any last questions? Nothing?
Nope, no last questions.
Okay, perfect. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.
Bye.